Well, hello, all you diecast fanatics. Welcome back. And let's take a look at what I've pulled out of the garage today. So I thought I'd take a look at some of my Corgi Juniors. I may have remember in a prior video I did a larger scale Corgi. Now we're going to take a look at the small scale. I was looking around in my rather vast collection. I was surprised to see I only have 4 Corgi Juniors. I thought I had more for some reason, but this is what I have. All right, so as I mentioned before, Corgis were built in Great Britain, very high quality die cast, and they were also known for making unusual subject matter, which is a plus because sometimes you want something a little more different than your usual Mustang, Trans Am, Camaro, Lamborghini, Ferrari, things like that. Sometimes you want cars that are like the stuff like your parents drive or your friend's parents drove or something like that. So, or maybe you want something that's really interesting or completely different or unique. Kind of like the one that's spinning on that turntable right there, which I'm going to get into here in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this little collection of Corgi Juniors I have here. Corgi is actually more known for their larger scale cars and also their superior quality and detail. Some of that is present here. One thing you'll notice about the Corgi Juniors is almost all of them, in fact, I think all of them, with the exception of a precious few, were built with plastic chassis. So, they're high quality plastic chassis, but nonetheless, that's how they built them. I remember one Corgi Junior I had years ago. It was a little Volkswagen Beetle, painted in like a dark green. That was in the what's called the Whiz Wheels series, and that one did have a metal chassis on it. That's like the only one I can think of right off the top of my head that even had that. And by the way, that's a vehicle I've searched for unsuccessfully. I can't find any of them in good condition. The fact that I got even these 4 here in good condition, or actually I should say mint condition, is quite remarkable. All right, so let's start with this one on the turntable. So this one here is a part of what's called Corgi's Growlers series, and you'll see in just a minute why they're called that. This car is called a Marcos Mantis XP. And if you're thinking to yourself, I have never in my life even heard of that car, well, there's a good reason for it. It's because there was only exactly one ever made. And I researched this because I was curious. Because my Nana bought me this car in 1976 when it was fairly new. There were 6 Growlers in the series. One of them was a Jaguar XKE. The rest of them were pretty much race cars. So I researched this because I thought to myself, is this even a real car, or is this one of those things like Hot Wheels did where it's just some, figment of their fantastical imagination? Well, it turns out, folks, it is indeed a real car, and there it is, the Marcos Mantis XP. Only one was ever made in existence. It raced only one time, and it succumbed to water intrusion, because I guess the race it was competing in, that was raining really hard, and it just couldn't handle it. The car was refitted with a Buick V8 and then sold to a collector in 1971, and he has it in his collection to this day. It's the only one in existence, and the car is oddly enough made of, get this, wood and fiberglass. So there you have it, folks. It is indeed a real car. There is just only one ever made. Why Corgi chose to make an example of that car in die-cast, I'll never know. It's a 1968 model is when it was actually produced. So in the Growler series, what you've got is there's this little toothed wheel that interacts with this plastic tab. And when you press down on the rear wheels, when you have this on like a surface, like a carpet or a tile floor, you hear that? Makes that little grinding sound. And I don't know if I can even demonstrate it on this table. This table is so slippery. It does it a little bit, but most of it just slips and everything. So, little childhood story to tell you about this car. So, in 1976, I was, 4 years old? And my brother had just been born. And he's an infant. He requires a lot of care. And I fell ill with a very bad, I guess it was a flu or something. I had a very bad respiratory illness. My throat was the sorest I'd ever felt it. I couldn't breathe. My head's just stuffed up. I just remember, how many of you Gen Xers remember this? Remember your mom would get a vaporizer, and she'd fill it with water, and then she'd put a little bit of Vicks Vapo Rub in that little pocket, and that would help you have a little bit of breathing overnight. She also put the Vapo Rub under your nose and on your chest. And so that was a nightly routine for me for about 4 days. I was very sick. So my Nana, my mother had called her up. That was her mother. Called her up and said, "Can you please help me out with the boys? Because my other boy is very sick." So my Nana took pity on me, and she brought me this little toy as a way to make me feel better. And when I was playing with it, I saw they had that growling feature. I thought that was really neat. My Nana even demonstrated it for me. I said to myself, "Oh, look at that. The car has a sore throat just like I do." That was what I thought of in my 4-year-old head. But, I was wondering what... I know my Nana was a big fan of Corgi Juniors. She absolutely loved them. She liked them way more than the Matchboxes and the Hot Wheels. She always bought my brother and I Corgi Juniors. And I was trying to think what in the world made her gravitate towards this car. Because my Nana knows absolutely nothing about cars. I mean, the only car in the world she can identify at sight was a Corvette. So I was looking at this little car. And I said to myself, you know what? My Nana probably thought it was a Corvette. Because if you look at it, it has a shape similar to a Corvette. It's low, slung like a Corvette. The nose is kind of similar to a Corvette with those headlamps and everything. So I thought to myself, that's got to be what she thought it was. She probably thought it was a Corvette. The fact it had injector stacks sticking out the back, that didn't even register with her. She just thought to herself, well, that's a neat little car. I'll get that for little Billy. And there you have it. That's the little story behind that strange little car. All right, let's take a look at some of the other ones. They're more mainstream models. You were a Gen X kid and you were growing up in the 1970s. You probably recognize this. Maybe you forgot about it. I didn't. I remember this show very well. So this is the 1974 Buick Regal from the TV series Kojak, starring Telly Savalas. Who loves you, baby? That's his catchphrase. So Corgi had this, actually not just in this size, they also had it in their larger 136 size, and it had opening doors, and it also came with some action figures. There was a figure that actually was designed where it would hang out the rear window of the car and was pointing a gun at the bad guys as they were, fighting crime in whatever city it was they fought in. I actually tuned into Starsky and Hutch a lot more often than I did Kojak, but nonetheless, if it was a cop show that had a landmark car, you can rest assured that I was definitely tuned into it. So Corgi did a really nice job on this Buick Regal, actually. I mean, despite the, relatively, like I said, lightweight plastic chassis, you got the nice chromed out interior with the amber colored windows to give it the kind of a feel like it's got a, parchment tan interior. Got the little plastic gumball light on there, which, by the way, was prone to getting busted and falling inside the interior, and then would rattle around for the rest of the time you had the car. They actually painted the tail lights. They put the little veins on the tail lights you can see there. Fairly decent effort with the grille. 1974 was the one year it had that kind of like a waterfall style grill. I'm going to put that light on, that extra light. There we go. Man, that really improves things when you're trying to look at some of these finer details. And yes, by the way, I will be getting a better camera. So these details will show up a lot more prevalent in that. Yeah, Kojak 1974 Buick Regal. And as I said, Corgi was known for making models out of, cars that were, like I said, not the usual mainstream stuff. That's kind of neat. One of their rarest models that I have ever seen them make was a 1978 Dodge Magnum XE. And I'm going to tell you something, it's not a very well executed model. The quarter window is filled in. It's not depicted with, like they do with the side windows. On this one, very nicely, on that Magnum, they didn't even bother doing the side window like that at all. And I never understood why they did that. But it's a very rare model, and the last time I saw one for sale on eBay, the guy was crazy and wanted $300 for it. And I said to myself, yeah, right. Am I going to seriously pay $300 for that tiny car? I don't think so. Now, when I've got a wife to take care of and a mortgage and other important things, that's just not going to happen. I think this one wasn't even in a blister pack. I got it just in this condition, loose. The person who had it took very good care of it. And it was shipped to me, and they did a nice job packing it, and so it arrived in perfect condition. You see, there's not a mark on this car. I mean, the paint's perfect, the chrome is perfect, everything's perfect on it. But yeah, Corgi did some interesting models. I'd like to find that Magnum for a reasonable price, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it was a very rare one. Let's take a look at another neat one. Corgi's Juniors didn't usually have opening features. This one does. So this is about I'd say a 1977, 1978 Volvo 245, I guess GL or DL wagon. Another interesting little subject matter. I got this one also loose. It wasn't in a blister. This was just another well-preserved loose car. Nice little model that they did. I like the fact that they gave it this little opening tailgate in the back here. That's a nice touch. Fairly decent interior effort on there. Nice kind of like a metallic, not quite mint green. It's almost about the same color green as that Caprice I showed you in an earlier video. That's the larger scale. But, Majorette and, it wasn't Yatming. Yatming did make a Volvo 240 series, but it was a sedan, not a wagon. But Majorette did a version of the 245 wagon, and oddly enough, it wasn't as nicely done as theirs. The rear window is too big on the Majorette version. It's done incorrectly. This one here is actually done very nicely. And that's surprising because usually Majorette gets their details very well. That was kind of a fun one. I like that one. That's on my main display, the top one there. And then the Gen Xers probably recognize this funny looking car. We used to call it the Goldfish Bowl. It's an AMC Pacer. And boy, they did a really nice job on this. That's a nice shade of blue. Got the little blue tinted glass that makes the interior appear blue. Just good details for such a relatively simple model. And you might remember, what was the Pacer's weird feature? Well, the whole car is weird, but there was one feature in particular that was extremely weird. So if you take a look, and they depicted it on this car very well. Take a look at their driver's door. Okay. Take a look at the passenger door. Driver's door again. Passenger door again. You see the difference? The passenger door is slightly longer. That was true on the real car. It was a feature that was supposed to make getting in the car on the curb side a little easier for the rear seat passengers because the door opening was a little bit bigger. Very strange feature. Lots of glass area, good visibility in these cars. They were powered by AMC's inline 6, which was not very powerful, but at least it was durable. There's like every 70s car, they succumb to rust, and they just have a reputation for just being weird, just like the Gremlin that AMC made. But Corgi did a pretty decent effort on their version. I have to give them a lot of credit for that. They put a little trailer hitch on here, which, would you want to ever pull a trailer with a AMC Pacer? Probably not. I mean, maybe you could tow a lawnmower trailer with it and not overtax it. But you're definitely not going to be towing a camper with this thing. Absolutely not. But, there you have it. That's my collection of Corgi Juniors. I thought I had more, really did. But this is the only 4 I've got. They're all kind of fun and unique in their own way. So, hope you guys are enjoying the content. I'm enjoying making it. It's a lot of fun. And it's just nice to, share these models with you guys. I got a lot more to show you. So, you just stay tuned. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful time.